when Cooper and I take these trips, like going to Oregon or something, I can't help but to think, gosh, something's missing. And it feels like there should be somebody else there. I know that's kind of weird to say or to think or to feel, but that's really how I feel. It's like there's a part of me missing. There's a part of our lives missing. And I know that it's a baby. Hello and welcome back to another week of Calling in Sick. I'm your host, Alex Wildeson. If you are watching the pod, you can see it, but we are back in Austin, back in the podcast studio, which actually got a renovation this week. I know I've been hinting at it for the last 2 months probably, but we are filming the TV show that I was cast in this Friday, like in 2 days from right now. So we had someone come and finish the wallpapering in the podcast studio. If you guys didn't know, this is not wood panels. This is wallpaper, and it was not expensive, and it's from Amazon, and I will link it in the description because it is amazing. It understands the assignment, and she works. And to be completely honest, I think I went a wee bit overboard on the preparation for this TV show with the home decor, home renovation projects that I put on my list, especially given that we were in Oregon while it was all happening. But here we are. It's all happening, and I think it's going to be finished by the time Friday morning rolls around. Will I still be alive and well? I'm not quite sure. Yesterday, I woke up, felt okay in the morning, and then realized I was incredibly run down, probably from travel, probably because I'm a week and a half late for IVIG, maybe, and I have stress/excitement about this TV show. I collapsed. Everything was spinning in my head. Like literally, I was so dizzy and had vertigo so bad. We had the nurse come over, give me an IV at home, and then I tried out a new supplement for the first time, which was another very questionable thing that I've done this week. I usually am someone that says, like, if you have something big coming up, do not rock the boat. Do not eat the gluten. Do not eat the dairy. Don't try new medications. Just status quo. For some reason, I threw caution to the wind, and I tried this new thing yesterday. It's a transdermal supplement patch by Ion Layer. I'm trying the glutathione one right now. I don't know if it was that, placebo, the IV, a good night's sleep. I don't know, but I woke up today and I was like, we are clocking in for a much better day today. Pain still pretty fucking bad, but I can muscle through that part. I've been dealing with chronic pain for over 25 years, so I feel decent. So I can move about my life to some degree if the pain is a little bit managed and not at the breaking point. What I cannot muscle through is the brain fog and the fatigue. That shit fucking flattens me. Especially being a content creator, when you can't string your words together, you just spiral. You think, am I going to be able to do this? This is already my umpteenth career pivot in my entire life. This is kind of our last shot. Please pull it together. And by the blessings above, woke up today and I was like, she's back. We're back to 2 brain cells, not just 1. So here we are. Anyway, that was a very long mumbling and musing to basically say, we're back in Austin. I am so excited for the filming of this TV show on Friday. But after it's done, and after I get IVIG next week, I think we're going to meet with a realtor and move to the Pacific Northwest because boy, oh boy, Cooper and I are just so happy there. The West Coast in general. We would love to move to San Diego, but to be completely transparent, it is way too fucking expensive, and we cannot afford that and maintain the current lifestyle that we have. And this lifestyle is a lot of holistic things that are paid out of pocket. So in order to keep that up, but get to the coast, Oregon is our answer. And thankfully, we both have family there. We've got friends there. And I am just so ready. Plus, it is way too fucking hot here in Texas. You can't spend time outside. Nature is healing to me. I think I get depressed, kind of like winter blues. I get summer blues living in Texas. And then I get winter blues because it's also cold. So I think my depression will be cured with moving. I know that that is not true. And Lord bless that some part of my brain probably does think that's true. But we're going to hopefully maybe do it. We'll see. I love making plans by myself over here. Cooper's going to listen to this episode and go, oh, when are we moving? But honestly, that's kind of how we've done things, is I'll just be like, do you want to move? And he'll say yes, and then we just do it. Living life spontaneously, for sure. The other reason But this move is actually not all that spontaneous, because moving to the coast has been on our list and timeline for when we want to start a family. To be completely transparent with you guys, I am too scared to get pregnant and carry a baby in the state of Texas. With the current legislation that is in this state, and being a high-risk pregnant person, I am not confident that I would receive the care necessary should any complications arrive. And that, in and of itself, is a massive blocker to us starting a family in this state. And that's actually exactly what we're going to be talking about in this week's podcast episode. I was that 3-year-old who had 9 baby dolls buckled into the family van whenever we left home. I was the kid that was a mother's helper and then a babysitter and then a nanny in college. I am that girl that has always known without a doubt I wanted to be a mom. And that dream still holds true. I really, really want to be a mom. I love being an auntie. It's so much fun, but it's not quite the same. And I know that when we get the opportunity, it's going to be the most beautiful, amazing gift ever. And I also can't wait to see Cooper be a dad. But we'll get into that later on. But with chronic illness, my timeline of getting to become a mom has shifted so many times for so many different reasons. And to be completely transparent, when I looked around online, there weren't a lot of people that were talking about this journey to motherhood that I related to. There's so many online support groups for infertility. Other people that you can bond with once you get the terrible, terrible news that you are infertile. There's groups that are, I'm trying to conceive and I have a chronic illness and it's really hard. There's groups that are, I conceived and I have a chronic illness and I'm scared. There's groups that are, I'm chronically ill and just had a kid and now I need support. But there's not a lot of areas where you can go and talk when it's, I want to be a mom. I don't know if I'm fertile or infertile. The blocking item is literally me, my health. And that can feel so incredibly alienating and lonely. So I wanted to open up the conversation so that there's a space within the chronic illness world for all of us who so deeply, deeply want to become moms, but can't even start that journey yet. So if that is you or a friend of yours or you and your partner, send this episode to them because you're going to feel heard here. We're going to talk about all the different things and hopefully just make a little bit of space for ourselves in this conversation. What this episode is not going to have is any of the science behind autoimmunity, chronic illness, and pregnancy. I'm an expert in only myself and my own health. So I'm going to bring in someone that is so much smarter, that can answer those hard questions, that can give us the insights and tea of, can my chronic illness go into remission during pregnancy? Will I get totally fucked after I give birth and be in the most massive flare-up forever? We're going to bring in someone to answer those questions. So start compiling your questions for that episode. We'll get into all that nitty-gritty with them. But that's in the future. Today is just a touchy-feely one, talking about the identity of wanting to be a mom, but not being able to be one yet. But before we dive into the nuts and bolts of all of that, my picks of the week. First one is Dosey. Guys, I've been seeing these very cute pill organizers on socials for the last year. I think they're sold at Anthropology now, so snaps, kudos to those founders working off their heinies. Very adorable little mirror. You've got all of your pills and supplements in a Sunday through Saturday space. I have enough supplements for every single day to fill this thing, so I just refill this every single night. And then this is what goes into my purse when I leave. Supplements, medications, everything all at once in here. It's adorable. I'm working on a discount code, so check in the description below. My second pick of the week is the Lola blanket. You guys heard me talk about it on socials last week. It is so fucking soft. The mission of the company is also beautiful. It tells a story about needing comfort during chemotherapy, and God, if that doesn't resonate with this community, I don't know what will. These things are awesome. I don't know if my code will still be working when this episode airs, but if it is, use AlexWild50 for 50% off site-wide. You also get a $50 gift certificate to use at a later date, so use it or lose it. I also think that these blankets will be perfect for a little nursery one day, so I'm excited to grow my collection of Lola blankets. And on that note, let's get into it. So I said it earlier, I've always wanted to be a mom. When I was growing up, we had this red van. It was our family car. And I'm not kidding, guys, 9 baby dolls. Anywhere we went, whenever we would leave home, 9 baby dolls went with us, and they were buckled into the seats. As you guys know, I grew up in a very quaint, very cute little farmy town in Indiana, and the main street in that town was brick. On this brick road was this store called My Mother's Doll Shop. I went to My Mother's Doll Shop, and I will never forget the day I went to My Mother's Doll Shop and I got to experience this whole motherhood experience. Looking back, like a little weird for kids to do this, but whatever. I love it. So when you would go to My Mother's Doll Shop for an event, like your birthday, they would dress you in like hospital gown, and then you'd go into the nursery area where all the baby dolls were laying, and you'd go pick yours out, you'd name it, they'd hand and footprint it, do all of the things. It was very theatrical. And that baby doll was like, oh, I was obsessed. She went to church with my family on Sundays. I don't remember her name. I'm going to have to ask my mom. Now I'm very curious what her name was. I wonder if it's on my list for future names for our kids. Stay tuned. I'll disclose on Instagram if my mom remembers. But anyway, long story long, that moment was one of those moments where I was like, I know I want to be a mom. And there launched my babysitting, mother's helper, nannying career that I did all the way through college. And then I got to become an aunt. And I like to think that I'm a pretty fun and pretty cool aunt. And I love being an aunt. I cherish every single moment I get with those cute little kiddos. But I do have to say, I hate giving them back at the end of the day. I want my own little ones to be with us forever. And when Cooper and I take these trips, like going to Oregon or something, I can't help but to think, gosh, something's missing. And it feels like there should be somebody else there. I know that's kind of weird to say or to think or to feel, but that's really how I feel. I was like, there's a part of me missing. There's a part of our lives missing. And I know that it's a baby. And the most frustrating thing with that dream or vision of having a little baby with us is that I know I can't fill that hole in my heart until I'm through this treatment, and then even then there's question marks. It's all just kind of a clusterfuck, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It's heartbreaking, it's heavy, but I'm very excited. And to be honest, that like hole in my heart, that's not a new feeling. I have felt that way since Cooper and I first got married. I was really, really sick, and I was in and out of the hospital. And ultimately, my doctor said, Alex, it's time to pull out the big guns. We got to put you on Cytoxin chemotherapy if you're up for it. And I knew at that time that if I said no to that medication, I was going to be on the struggle bus for the long haul. I needed to shut down my immune system so that I could get to a more stable place with my health. So after lots of discussions, deliberations, Cooper and I said, let's do this thing. And one of the biggest considerations with that medication is going on it puts you at risk for infertility. It's a pretty intense chemotherapy drug, actually most often used for breast cancer. It's also used for treating PA and vasculitis. Knowing that it could possibly make me infertile, and thankful for the amazing team of doctors that I have, including my dad, who is a doctor, we were advised to do IVF. So Cooper and I went to an IVF clinic. Thought we just get kind of like the 411, understand what our options were and whatnot, but it became clear that we had, I think 5 weeks to start the IVF process before I was going to start Cytoxin, which meant we had to start that day, and we had one shot. Talk about pressure. Thankfully, I was young, naive, and didn't really think about it like that at that time. And so the process of going through IVF was okay. It was decent. And I was young. I was like 25 years old. Good God, I think I was 25. I was a BB. But without going into all the details, because we'll save that for the fertility specialist episode, I went from having 40 follicles thinking, oh my gosh, I'm fertile myrtle, to only having 2 embryos that were viable for life and did not carry any of my autoimmune-ish. And going through that journey of thinking, oh my God, I'm totally fine, to, oh my God, we only have 2, or oh my God, we have 2, was weird. I had this very split emotional reaction of being incredibly grateful that we had gotten 2 good embryos. I know how rare that can be. and also being sad that we only had 2. So how would we even think about implanting or surrogacy in the future given my health? Well, thankfully, I guess, then I went on Cytoxin and I didn't think about that for a while. Got through the treatment, went through a detox period, and finally my body was stable. We wasn't stable to the point where we were thinking, let's get pregnant right now. We were thinking, I'm stable, let's go have some fun. We were dreaming of travel and going out late at night and all the things that 25-year-olds should be doing. But we got pregnant. We got pregnant a few weeks before Christmas. We were so excited. I couldn't believe it. It was honestly shocking because I had just finished Cytoxin 8 months prior. We knew that I had endometriosis, but I hadn't had an excision surgery yet. And so we were genuinely shocked. And literally the night before we were flying to go see Cooper's family, where him and I had been thinking, how are we going to tell all the parents that they're going to be grandparents and we get to do that at Christmas? How exciting is this? I had a miscarriage and it shattered me. I was so emotional. This hole in my heart was just heavy and gaping, and I wasn't okay. I was not okay. And I think that spooked me a little bit about just how difficult this journey to motherhood could look for me because of my health. And after that miscarriage, you guys know the rest of the story. I had flare-ups and then flare-downs, and finally in 2023, I was healthy enough again. And I'd had the endometriosis excision surgery, so Cooper and I were thinking end of 2023, green light, let's start a family, let's get pregnant. And our plan was to implant one of the embryos. And thankfully, him and I had years to have these conversations of what would we do with the embryos? Should I be carrying them? Should we get a surrogate? What do we do? And what we came up with was this. I want the experience of carrying a baby. I'm very excited about the idea of that. All the good and all the bad. So we decided with one of the embryos I would carry. And if that did not work, then we'd get a surrogate and try with the other embryo. And if that didn't work, then we will adopt or we will foster. One way or another, we're going to become parents. And I think that North Star has given us so much peace of mind. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So we're getting towards the end of 2023. I go in to get this implant taken out of my body because it needed to get out immediately. That's a story also for another day. And I woke up and the surgery was botched. And therein started the last year and a half, which has been so fucking difficult, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, literally identity-wise. It flipped my entire life on its head. And one of the most devastating parts about it that I don't think I talk about that much is that it ended what I had been working towards. And I think one of the most devastating parts of this botched spinal surgery, honestly, was that I finally saw that I had a window to become a mom. I was in remission. I was off all these meds. I had worked so hard to get to that point, to be able to carry a baby, and it got ripped out of my hands. And I know that it's a dramatic event of this botched spinal surgery, but I think where it can relate to other people is that's what a flare-up does. That's what getting sick again does, is you work so fucking hard to get your body ready to do this one thing it's supposed to do naturally. And then there's this whole other part of the equation that not many other women have to deal with that can sidetrack the entire thing. It's devastating. It is alienating. And it makes you lose hope, honestly. And we have to settle with so many different things with being chronically ill. We have to settle with the fact that our lives are going to be unconventional. And we have to get comfortable with that. We have to settle with the fact that maybe we can't work forever. And we have to get comfortable with that or make pivots. We have to settle with the fact that we can't go out and live a normal life like all of our healthy friends. And we have to find ways to not just settle, but to be okay with all of these things and still find joy and happiness in life. But that motherhood piece, y'all, that I struggle so much with that one thing that I know nobody has control over. Healthy people don't even have control over that. But it's the one thing that I just want so badly that I refuse to settle and pivot and be okay with it. Because since I was a little girl, I've always known that that's what I want, that I want to be a mom. And I feel so lucky and so grateful that I have this dream of a husband, Saint Coop, and I know he's going to be a great dad. And I just want that chapter for us so badly. But so we don't sit in the doom and gloom of how hard this part of it all is, let's talk about why I'm so excited to be a mom. Obviously, then just, this childhood dream coming true and getting to be a parent with Cooper, who is the best uncle in the world. I cannot wait to see him as a dad. He is going to be so hands-on. He already plays on the ground with our niece and nephew. He's silly, he's goofy, he's cuddly, he listens well. And I guess this is when I'm going to admit it. We know the genders of our 2 embryos, and they're 2 little girls, and Coop's going to be the very best girl dad in the entire world. I cannot wait to see him with a little version of us. And him and I talk about it all the time. And this is another thing I'm really excited about. What are these girls or girl, if we are so lucky to get to meet them and have them here, what are they going to look like? Cooper is 6'4", tall, dark, and handsome. I am 5'3" on a good day, very Norwegian looking, pale skin, and petite. So really, the genetics, they have some options there, as we shall say. But if we are lucky enough to meet even just one of these little girls, I'm so lucky to see what she's going to look like, what she's going to be like. Cooper and I are both huge, huge nerds. So I have a feeling she'll be nerdy. We both were also very athletic back in the day. I know, shocking. Me, athletic. It's also a hilarious thing in my mind that at one point in my life I was athletic. Cooper's still very athletic. I think she'll be athletic. And I know she'll be happy because she'll be loved so incredibly immensely. And I guess one of the other things I'm excited about is we've had years to dream of what kind of parents we want to be, what our life will look like. And I think we both are very confident and calm with the fact that it's going to be unconventional. And we're okay with that because the rest of our lives, let's face it, so unconventional. So like I said at the top of the episode, us moving to the coast to be closer towards our parents, that's part of our unconventional plan. We're going to have our 4 hands on deck taking care of this little one. But since my health is unpredictable in nature, it's going to be helpful to have grandparents near us to help out and pitch in when they can. Now, because we've had to push out our dream of becoming parents for 5 years now, 6 years, 6 years now, there are some things that I read online about people becoming parents that they get frustrated about. Cooper and I have had time to talk through all of those things and find solutions of how we'll handle that or find excitement in it anyway. One of those things is parents saying, oh my gosh, my life shrunk when I had a kid. All of a sudden I couldn't go out as much. I had to stay home more. My life didn't feel like my own. Well, chronic illness is basically a toddler. So we've been living that forever. And that makes our life small. That has impacted what we can and can't do at times. And we already have, and despite that, we find joy and happiness in our lives because it's out of your control. What the fuck you're going to do? Just sit around and complain about it? No, you're going to sit around and you're going to find ways to have fun with it because life is short and we take what we get and we don't throw a fit. I think it's the saying. No, we throw a bitch fit. And then after we have the bitch fit, we put on our big girl pants and we figure out a way to still have joy and happiness and fun. So Cooper and I are excited because yes, we know that there will be a nesting period or times where life will get a little bit more small. And honestly, I think we're excited about that. We're both huge homebodies anyway. And when we get past the point of having to nest and can go back out in the world with a little one, you bet your ass that little one is going with us everywhere. Grocery shopping, thrift shopping, gardening, to the beach, to go see the grandparents, whatever, they're there because I want them to see everything in life. We've already waited 5 years to meet her, so might as well just bring her along for the ride. The other thing that I read about online is people having a very specific birth plan that they want. And I think that that's important because you should always have like a plan of how you want to approach things. But because I don't even know if I'll be able to carry or have to use a surrogate or if we'll be turning to adoption, I don't give a fuck what my birth plan is. I'm just grateful I'll be able to carry the baby and have a successful birth. C-section, sure. Epidural, great. No epidural, fine. A lobby delivery, sign me up. I really don't care because at the end of the day, I just get to become a mom. And however that birth story looks is fine by me. And I guess that's the last thing I'll say on the excitement topic is because I've had to wait 5 years And because opportunities and windows of getting pregnant have been quite literally ripped out of our hands in the past, I'm coming at motherhood with a different perspective. I have so much gratitude and gratefulness for just the opportunity. However that looks, meaning carry myself, surrogacy, or adoption. And if I do get the opportunity to carry, then I don't care how the birth plan looks. I just am excited to become a mom. Now, it's not all roses and daisies, because of course in those 5 years, I've also created a laundry list of things that I am thinking of and having some worry about going into motherhood. Like, am I going to be healthy enough to do this? I don't just mean physically do this. I mean, am I strong enough to care for another human and be responsible for them? Because at times I feel like I can't even take care of my own self and rely on Cooper to do that. And he always reminds me that that's part of the reason why we're going to be living near our family, near grandparents, so that they can pitch in and help. Because maybe we can't just be like our ancestors and be two little people raising a kid in the middle of the forest. We need that village. We need that village around us to help us navigate and to handle all the different situations and complications that come with being chronically sick. I worry about how my chronic illnesses will respond to the stress of trying to get pregnant, hopefully getting pregnant and giving birth. Will I flare from the stress? Will I have the worst pregnancy of my life? Will I have the worst pregnancy imaginable? Will I have a terrible birth story? Will I flare up and not be able to take care of my newborn right after I give birth? All of those things are swirling in my head at most times, and they really do freak me out. I think the only thing that gives me some comfort or ease is knowing that I'm not doing it alone. Cooper is an amazing, amazing partner, and I know that I'm not alone in it. And I know that even if I do flare, which inevitably I would feel so guilty about, Cooper has my back, and he will help pull me along, take care of me, and take care of a baby, because he's Cooper. And I feel very blessed and lucky that that is my partner. That's the person that I hopefully get to have kids with. It makes me feel safe, it makes me feel secure, and it makes me feel like it's okay for me to dream and hope and actually want to be a mom, regardless of everything. Especially, which is especially helpful because there's a lot of people online and in person that have big opinions on if someone with a chronic illness, me, yours truly, should even have a kid. I have had a few specialists that I don't see anymore say to my face, you should not be a mom because your health is too much and that's not fair to a kid. The specialists that have said that to me were specialists that had seen me maybe twice in the past, did not know me as a person, did not know my health story, did not know that I went through chemotherapy, surgeries, that I worked full-time in private equity on chemotherapy, in the hospital, in surgical recoveries. I have some grit, and I'm not going to let my chronic illness take away this huge dream that I have. I've made sacrifices, I've made pivots in other areas of my life, and I'm refusing to do that in mine. I also think it's just like an incredibly ableist comment to opine on if someone else should or should not be a mom because of their situation. That kind of thinking trickles down to so many other areas like socioeconomic considerations, disability, and honestly, it all comes down to kind of like eugenics thinking. You don't have to be a healthy person to be a parent. You don't have to be a healthy person to have a baby. Because 1, anybody can have a baby. They might be the worst parent in the world, even if they're healthy. 2, anybody can get sick. My dad got sick while I was growing up. He was the best dad. Cancer made him even softer and more cuddly. I got closer with my dad because he got sick. I am more compassionate because of that. And 3, nobody can predict the future. What if I'm that girl that gets pregnant and all of my stuff goes into remission? I don't want to roll the dice. And in so much of dealing with chronic illness, I have weighed risk and reward. I'm talking surgeries, medications, procedures, the whole 9 yards. Cooper and I have had lots of conversations about this clearly, and we think the rewards outweigh the risks, and we are excited, both on the same page with becoming parents. So when doctors or when people online comment shit like you shouldn't be a mom because you're chronically sick or because you're disabled, I don't give a fuck. And I guess the last thing I'm worried about is, will it work this time? I'm currently on a 2-year protocol of pretty intensive treatments with Rituxan, prednisone, and IVIG. And the goal and thought behind all of it was I do it for 2 years, and then we get off the medications that are not great to be on if you're trying to conceive or pregnant, and transition to some better medications, or ideally no medications like I was in 2023 before my fucking surgery from hell. And then I'd be able to get my body ready to get pregnant with functional health, holistic things, and then we'll go down the whole route, and then we'll figure out which direction our journey is going. If I can carry, if we're using a surrogate, or if we're adopting. And I guess the number one thing that's been giving me comfort with that anxiety is that any of those plans still end in me being a mom. They have different ways of getting there, but I still get this dream and goal at the end of the day, and that is my North Star. If I want to be a mom, and I have all these chronic illnesses and things that are going on in my life that are uncontrollable, then let go and let God, and I know that there are things I can do to guarantee that I will be a mom no matter what. And I guess what all of this episode trickles down to is hope and staying open-minded. So much of the chronic illness life is unpredictable and out of our hands, and candidly, getting pregnant and conceiving is no different. And that's true for a healthy or a sick person. But if we can hold space for hope, and that thought that however the chips are going to fall, you can still become a parent one way or another, thankfully. And that's keeping me grounded in this journey. I've got about 8 more months left in my treatment protocol, and hopefully I will be in a remission-like state by then. And if that's the case, then it's 6 months. Then it's 6 months of detox, getting my body strong, functional lifestyle, holistic things, and then we start the journey of how I become a mom. And I'll be excited whichever way that is and however that looks. I'm honestly very surprised and shocked and proud of myself for not crying during this episode. I think that's growth, that over the last 5 years I've gotten to a place of somewhat okayness with this journey towards motherhood. And I really do think it's because I have this open mind of like, however it comes, it will come. So enough with the heaviness. Let's talk about our One Brain Cell show. I think this is the perfect show to distract you in this journey, to ease you if you are currently pregnant and feeling like shit, or if your baby is sleeping and you can't sleep and you need to watch something. This show is for you. And my One Brain Cell pick of the week is Only Murders in the Building. You can watch it on Hulu. Obviously, Selena Gomez is the queen mother of all chronic illness. And Steve Martin and Martin Short are obviously America's dads. So, parenthood. Only Murders in the Building. A show about parenthood that you didn't know was actually about parenthood. And on that note, I am exhausted. I love you guys. Thank you for being here for this story in this episode. I'm sure I rambled my ass right on through this I know I rambled all the way through this episode, but it's a raw one and it's a real one, and I hope that if you're in the same chapter or emotional arena with your journey towards becoming a parent, that this episode gave you a little bit of comfort and reminded you that you have a friend in me if you're in this journey too. Love you guys. See you next week. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me for another week of Calling in Sick. As a reminder, I would love for y'all to like, follow, subscribe, save, share with your friend, do all of the things. It truly helps grow this community, and it helps these episodes reach the people that need them the most, whether that's for an educational piece, to have a little laugh, or to not feel so alone. As a reminder, Calling in Sick sits on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, and anywhere else where you can find your listens. From the bottom of my heart, I absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for calling in sick with me every Monday. It's been an honor and a pleasure so far, and I can't wait to continue building this community with y'all. Love you.